I'm Mandy Lowell, and I'm here today with Melissa Baton Caswell. I'm a past president to the Palo Alto Unified School Board, and Melissa currently sits on the board and is running for a second term. Melissa also is a founding board member of Youth Community Service. She serves on the board of the Palo Alto Arts Center. Before being elected to the school board, she was president of the district-wide PTA Council, which oversees activities at all 17 schools in our district. She's also been a president of the Palo Alto Unified Board. And Melissa, why don't I let you tell us some things. One of the things I know that you've been very enthusiastic about is strategic planning. You're a major driver on that, and you're always emphasizing the importance of focusing on our strategic goals. What are your goals in running for re-election to the school board?
Well, Mandy, thank you for asking. I really have three goals that are very important to me. The first is learning. Learning is why I joined and why I ran for the board to start out with. Learning to me is an incredibly important goal. We have over 12,000 students in this district, and we have a wide range, and every single one of those students needs to be served effectively. We have students that have every enrichment at home. They have violin lessons, and they travel, and they have many books. They may or may not take advantage of that, but they have that at home. Then we have students that really have very little. Their parents may work several jobs. They may not have any books in their home. There may not be anybody at home when they come home to do their homework. Their parents may not have may not have graduated from high school. We have to serve both ends of the spectrum. Plus, we have students that are in the middle, and we have students that have learning disabilities, and we have students with special needs. We have to serve every single one of these kids. But what's really probably to me even more important than making sure they're all well educated is to make sure that we're creating the leaders of the future. And the reason that's important to me, I feel like it's our responsibility. We're right next to Stanford University. Our kids are surrounded by people with multiple degrees in the classroom, around them on the street. We have the Silicon Valley surrounding our district. And if our kids aren't going to be the next generation of leaders, I don't know whose kids are. And so we really have to make sure that we're not just giving them a strong education, but we're giving them empowerment. We're giving them the feeling that they can make a difference in their classroom, in their community, and so they believe they can go out and make a difference in the world. So for me, that's my number one priority. My next priority isn't quite as sexy. That priority is really fiscal responsibility and effectiveness. We spend about $13,000 a student in Palo Alto. That might seem good compared to some other districts in California, but quite frankly, California is spending 47th in the nation in education. And the schools that we benchmark against, the districts we benchmark against outside of California are spending a lot more. So for example, Scarsdale, New York, who we benchmark against constantly, spends about $30,000 per student. Now, what does that mean when we only have about 13? With all of the support that we get from our community, it means that we need to be very efficient with every dollar that's spent. Every dollar that's spent in the classroom, every dollar that's spent in the administration, and in addition, every dollar that's spent that comes to us in other ways. So money that we get, for example, from our bond measure to pay for buildings, we need to be very efficient and effective with that as well. So that's a huge priority for me, is to continue to make sure that we spend our money as best possible. My last priority goes back to your first point, and that is we have used our strategic plan as a structure to make decisions and to follow, create goals that we can follow, that everyone is on the same page with. And I would like to continue that methodology and continue using a strategic plan as a structure so that we're all pointing in the same direction on our goals.
Great. You have an MBA. You have over 14 years of work experience, leadership in a high-tech company. How does that inform the way you approach decisions on the school board?
Well, you know, it's interesting. When you're trained with an MBA, you're trained to look at data and to analyze that data, but not just in the abstract, but also look at it in the context of the whole. And so I believe that my MBA and my training as a manager has allowed me to pan and zoom, to go up and look at the big picture and then go down into the details of the data, but to pull it back into the context of what's going on in our district. The other thing that I believe that my MBA brings to me is, it's not just my MBA, it's my experience as a manager, is the ability to manage large organizations and to figure out what will be effective. And one thing that I have found in my experience, and there's a lot of data and research to support it, is that it takes organizational buy-in to have programs and projects and initiatives have staying power in an organization. And so what that means is it may take longer, but you need to get people on board if you really want your initiatives to last.
Well, Melissa, I know having worked with you, you do want to have a lasting impact. And that raises another issue for me. You served all 17 schools when you were PTA council president. You went to school board meetings. You seem to have a lot of knowledge of the struggles and issues going on in the schools. Has there been anything that's been a surprise to you in serving as a school board member?
You know, it's funny because I was going to every school board meeting and I was watching the school board discuss things, and I was focused more on, when you're going through the packet, can you make the right decisions in the right amount of time? Since you're doing all of your deliberations in public, how does that work? But what I didn't think about, which is a huge part of the job, is it's not 9 to 5, and it's not only a portion of it is at the actual school board meetings. I find that people will call me at any hour, any day of the week. And when I'm going out into the community to do things, I try to leave myself extra time because it's very likely that when I'm pumping gas or getting groceries or buying a prescription at the drugstore, someone will come up to me and want to talk about an issue or an idea, and I need to have the time to give to them so that I can make sure that I'm properly considering what they're talking about.
Well, I know you do have a reputation as a great listener. People have told me how when someone calls you and they're really upset, you'll go over to their house to understand what the issues are regarding school performance. But actually, despite the budget constraints we hear from the state, the district has really been doing pretty well in terms of performance and results over the past 5 years. Can you tell us what you think some of the accomplishments are that have occurred during your term?
Mandy, I'm really proud of a bunch of things, and I'll give you examples of some of them. I guess the first thing that I'm really proud of is that we have adopted a structure and a program that allows us to support our kids' social and emotional learning and also measure how we're doing against that. And this is called the Developmental Assets. It's a more than 25-year-old program, and we can see our results over time, and we can also measure ourselves against other districts. And all of our 17 schools are actively using this program as a common language as well as a common structure. So that's one thing. And that's important because a lot of people will say, oh, that's social emotional health, that's sort of touchy-feely, we can't really measure it, but we actually have found a program and a structure that we can use for that. I'm obviously proud that we've been using our strategic plan, that we didn't just come up with a plan and then put it on a shelf, which many organizations do. They're very proud that they did it. They put the stamp on it. It goes on the shelf. But we actually have been actively using our strategic plan as a way to manage our goals and to track our goals. And it's been really great. We had initial buy-in from not just the school board, but also the community and the teachers and the students, and I think that that has made all the difference.
Yeah, you've said before that buy-in means it's more likely that you'll have a successful program. So it's not just having a great idea; it's having that amount of community input that helps you get, and having the teachers and staff be supportive of those ideas. So I guess you've done a lot of good training along with that. How are you doing on the results of some of the strategic goals that have been set?
So another thing that I'm very proud about is some strategic goals around our academic program. So we had several goals around our academic program. One of them was to match our high school graduation requirements with the entrance requirements for the public universities. And that's important not because we're going to force every student to go to a four-year college. That's important because every child should have the same opportunities. And this way, students that leave our district will have the opportunity to go to a four-year school, and then they can decide whether they want to do that. Another focus from our strategic plan was on teachers. Teachers are probably one of our biggest, they are our biggest asset. And so it's not just having good teachers, but it's hiring good teachers when you need them, it's retaining good teachers, and it's continual professional development. We have put a huge investment into professional development over the last several years, and it shows. And we've changed the way we've done professional development. In our strategic plan, our teachers said they would like to see some different kinds of professional development that would help them be more effective, and we've invested in that. So that I'm very proud of as well. Another area is technology. You know, we're in the middle of the Silicon Valley. People love technology. Technology by itself doesn't do anything. You need technology that goes to a goal, that provides a solution. And we have put technology in the classroom that supports students. It supports teachers in teaching, it supports in student learning, it allows students that are struggling to have more support, and it allows students, or provides ways that students that need more challenge can get more challenge. Finally, and this is probably the most important thing, we have made progress against an achievement gap that we feel very strongly we must make progress against. So our students who are who are economically underprivileged and certain ethnic groups, there was a disparity, and we've made progress against that, and it's measurable. And so I'm very proud about those things. There's another thing that I'm very proud about. We've had it's been a financially tight 5 years. I feel like every year we just get worse financial information. And yet we've continued things that we feel are very important. So we have, while other districts have gotten rid of things like art and music and foreign language, we've continued to invest in those programs because we believe that a well-rounded education is critical for our students' success.
Great to hear that about the well-rounded education. I know that you're a big believer in the arts and music and the full range that people move to Palo Alto and they want their children to have, and people without children want our kids to have this well-rounded education. So I'm so happy you've been able to continue it despite the tight times. On a more tangible thing, a bond measure was passed. I was one of the co-chairs of the bond measure committee, and I know people have been so happy to see how much progress has been made with the money that taxpayers contributed for better facilities. Tell me about progress on the bond.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. You drive around any part of town and you see construction going on, and it's incredibly exciting. We have one site that's been completed. We have 6 sites actively under construction, with students in them while they're actively under construction, and we have one site about to start. All of our projects are on time and on budget. Wow. And, you know, if you've ever done a construction project, you know how difficult that is. When I first joined the board, I went out to districts around the area who were doing construction, and I asked them about what was working and what wasn't working so that we would have some knowledge to use to help make this bond program successful. And there's been an enormous amount of hard work that's gone into this, and there's still an enormous amount of hard work to go. But so far, knock on wood, it's going great.
That's great to hear. Now, about enrollment, we always know that many people move to Palo Alto for the schools. Is the school board planning for increases in enrollment?
Well, of course we are. We've had about 2% growth a year if you look over the past 10 years. This year it might be a little bit under that, but that's not a trend. That's sort of, you know, one of those plus or minus things. And so we have to plan effectively. Our bond program that we're working on right now will provide additional facilities, but we need to plan beyond that. We need to look out 10, 20 years and make sure that we have a plan that makes sense. And I'm committed to working on that.
Great. I think that the bond funds have been very well managed thus far. What do you see? Clearly, rising enrollment is one of the challenges the school district faces and always faces. What are some of the challenges you see that lie ahead during the next 4 years on the school board?
Well, clearly growing enrollment, 12,000 students today. You know, we were at our high at 15,000 students many years ago, and then enrollment went down, and now it's gone back up again. I think the low was around 7,500, something like that. So we've had a pretty steep ramp. and we don't know when that ramp is going to stop. So, but our goal is that we're effectively serving every single student. And so that needs to be our goal, and that will be a challenge for us to figure out how to do that well. Obviously, making sure that we're doing the right things from an education standpoint, that we're using training and technology in a good and smart way, not just for the sake of using them, but in a way that will actually help us serve every single student. We need to make sure we're keeping our top teachers, and we need to make sure that we're helping them reach their professional goals, because by doing that, we'll be helping every student as well. And then finally, we really, really need to make sure that we're effectively using and efficiently using the resources that we have. We are incredibly lucky. In addition to the property tax revenue that we get in this district, we also get money from the Palo Alto Partners in Education, which is supported by our entire community. We have a parcel tax. There's a bond measure to support the building that we're doing. And in order to have the trust of the community, we need to prove that trust by making sure that we're using that money in the best way possible and we're transparent about reporting it.
Melissa, it is so reassuring to hear that the school district, which has always been excellent, is continuing and even helping more kids with achievable results on closing the achievement gap. And that we have you as a good steward of our finances. What would you say to a family that's considering moving to Palo Alto to rent or to buy a house about coming to the schools here?
Well, our schools are great. Our community is great. And I'm clearly committed to excellence. For me, learning is everything. And I'm going to do everything in my power as a member of the school board to make sure that we don't just continue our excellence, but we're continually improving education for our kids.
Again, I'm so impressed with your ambition to make sure that even with 12,000 kids, each kid feels a connection, that we continue to improve in our teaching strategies. And I hope that the voters will give you an opportunity to serve us for another 4 years and turn out in November and vote for Melissa Caswell. And if you'd like to know more information, Melissa has a website that you could go to and find out more information about the things that she's done and her background. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope you will support me in this campaign.